Tell us what exactly is happening.
So I think what we're seeing through this report is basically the disclosure of what we've known has been going on for near enough a decade, and that is basically the targeting of organisations and institutions with intellectual property or access to funds by a group of relatively sophisticated individuals. Historically, these have aligned themselves with nation states looking to steal intellectual property, and now we're seeing organised crime adopt some of the same techniques.
And do we know who's targeted?
So from our experience at least, it seems kind of almost across the board. So if you're an organisation with high intellectual property or financial services firms of varying sizes.
I noted that you single out Russian banks.
So the research has, so obviously it's not our research,
Yes.
but the researchers have identified that yes, a number of Russian banks were targeted and by a group that knew their systems very well.
In terms of the perpetrators, I mean, how likely is it to actually track who does this and to figure out like who they are?
So we have this kind of attribution problem generally. So purely from a technological perspective, it's almost impossible. The internet is a thing which is very hard to track upon. So most of the attribution is done by following the money and looking at the techniques that we associate with kind of known crime groups.
And where is this sort of occurring? Which sort of regions is it most prevalent in?
So I don't think there is prevalence necessarily in a particular region. What we're seeing generally from these attacks is they're almost indiscriminate. Money moves across borders, financial institutions operate across borders, and so literally what the attackers will be looking for is the weakest link in that organisation's chain in order to do the initial breach.
How do you prevent this?
So it's very hard to prevent. People sometimes point to technology as the solution, but the joke is that you have to identify and make sure that every employee has a degree of awareness. So it's a mixture of training, kind of empowerment of people in the organisation and their users, as well as the appropriate technology defences. But I think the important point is that if your strategy is purely prevention, you will come unstuck. You have to prepare for the eventuality.